Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our podcast. I'm Sophia, and today I'm joined once again by Jacob. We're diving into a topic that so many of you have been asking about: how to build confidence when speaking English.
Hi Sophia, I'm really excited about this one. Confidence is such a big hurdle for language learners. Sometimes, even when you know what to say, nerves just take over.
Exactly, and honestly, it happens to all of us, even native speakers. So, Jacob, what do you think is the number one thing that helps boost confidence?
Practicing out loud, even if you're alone. Just speaking English regularly, even to yourself, can make a huge difference. It helps your mouth get used to the sounds, and you start trusting your voice more.
That's such a great point. Talking to yourself might feel a bit strange at first, but it's actually a powerful tool. I used to do it while cooking or cleaning. I'd just describe what I was doing in English.
I used to pretend I was doing a cooking show. Now we add the garlic. It sounds silly, but it helped me with fluency and gave me the confidence to speak in front of others.
I love that. And what about recording yourself? Have you tried that?
Oh, yes. I'd record a short video, maybe describing my day or giving my opinion on something simple. Then I'd listen back, not to criticize, but just to notice what I could improve. It really helped with pronunciation and also made me feel more comfortable with my own voice.
That's something many learners struggle with, hearing their own voice in English. But it's so important to get used to it, right?
Absolutely. The more you hear yourself, the less strange it feels. And once that awkwardness goes away, your confidence starts to grow naturally.
Do you think joining conversation groups helps?
100%. Being part of a group where everyone is trying to learn takes the pressure off. You're not alone, and it becomes less about being perfect and more about connecting.
And connection is the heart of communication. Not grammar perfection, not having the biggest vocabulary, just connecting with others.
Couldn't agree more. I've had some of the best conversations with people who only knew a few hundred English words. But they were confident and willing to engage.
That's such a good reminder. Confidence doesn't mean you have to speak like a native. It means being brave enough to try.
And I think another helpful tip is to celebrate small wins. Like, if you spoke to someone in English today, even just to ask for directions or order food, that's a win. That's progress.
Yes, I always tell learners to acknowledge those little victories. Every sentence you say out loud is a step forward. You don't have to wait until you're fluent to be proud of yourself.
And actually, perfectionism is one of the biggest enemies of confidence. If you're always focused on getting everything exactly right, you'll hesitate. You'll freeze. But if you give yourself permission to make mistakes, that hesitation goes away.
So true. Mistakes are part of learning. In fact, I'd say the more mistakes you make, the faster you improve, because you're pushing yourself outside your comfort zone.
Right. I remember once I said, "I'm boring," instead of "I'm bored." When I was talking to a group, everyone laughed, including me. And you know what? I never made that mistake again. And it broke the tension. I was more relaxed after that.
That's the perfect example. A little laughter, a little learning, and a lot of progress.
Another thing learners can do is shadowing. Have you tried that technique, Sophia?
Oh yes, shadowing is amazing. For those who haven't heard of it, it's when you listen to a short clip, like from a movie, TV show, or podcast, and try to repeat everything the speaker says, as quickly and accurately as you can, almost like you're their echo.
Exactly. It helps with pronunciation, rhythm, and even confidence. Because you're speaking like a native speaker, and it trains your brain to follow that natural flow.
And it's actually fun. You get to play around with different accents and tones. I used to shadow characters from sitcoms all the time.
Me too, especially from Friends. I tried to copy Chandler's sarcasm. It helped me get more expressive in English.
I love that. And it just goes to show that learning can be fun and creative. It doesn't have to be all textbooks and drills.
No, it really doesn't. If you're having fun, you're more likely to stick with it. And that consistency is where confidence really grows.
Since we're talking about confidence and speaking, Jacob, Let's dive into real life situations. What are some common, everyday moments where learners can practice English without feeling overwhelmed?
Great question. I'd say grocery stores are a fantastic place to start. You can practice by reading product labels, asking where something is, or even greeting the cashier with a simple, "Hi, how are you?"
That's a good one. And coffee shops too, right? Ordering a drink in English, asking for sugar or cream, it's short and simple. But it helps a lot.
Definitely. Even something like small talk while waiting in line. You don't need to start a deep conversation, but saying, "It's a nice day," or "This line is long today," gets you used to speaking spontaneously.
And let's not forget public transport. Asking for directions, or confirming which stop you should get off, these are all chances to use English in real time.
Yes, and language exchange meetups or speaking clubs are also amazing. I always tell people to join those, even if they're nervous at first. Everyone's learning, no one's judging.
And now with technology, there are so many online options too. Apps like Tandem or HelloTalk let you talk with native speakers or fellow learners from anywhere in the world.
I've used those, and video calls are another great practice tool. You get comfortable seeing yourself talk, which builds confidence for real life situations.
True. Sometimes people struggle just because they're not used to hearing their own voice in English. But once they get past that, they improve so much faster.
Totally agree. I think we forget how powerful it is to just use the language, no matter the setting. Reading and writing are great, but speaking regularly is what builds fluency and confidence the fastest.
I love that. Speaking is like exercising a muscle, you have to use it to make it stronger.
And if you can find just 5 or 10 minutes every day to talk out loud, even to yourself, it makes a big difference.
Let's keep it going then. Jacob, let's talk about something that often gets overlooked: thinking in English. So many learners translate from their native language, which slows down their speech. What's your take on this?
That's such an important point. When you constantly translate, your brain has to work twice as hard. It's like trying to speak while solving a math problem at the same time. Thinking directly in English helps speed up your responses and makes your speech more natural.
Exactly. But how does someone start doing that? I mean, it's not easy to switch off your native language, right?
True, it's a gradual process. One simple method is labeling things around you in English. For example, instead of thinking or kadab, you look at a book and think book. Do this with objects you use daily.
Oh, I like that. So your brain starts connecting English words to the things themselves, instead of translating them.
Exactly. Another great tip is narrating your day in English. When you're cooking, say to yourself, "Now I'm chopping onions. The water is boiling." You're not speaking to anyone, but you're building those language patterns in your head.
That's brilliant. I used to do that when I was learning Spanish. It felt silly at first, but over time it became second nature.
Yes. And people can even keep a daily journal in English, just a few sentences a day. That helps with thinking and expressing ideas in the language.
What about for learners who feel shy or afraid to speak out loud, even alone?
That's common, and it's okay. I'd say start by whispering. It sounds strange, but whispering helps build speaking fluency in a low pressure way. Then, when you're more comfortable, speak louder and with more confidence.
I love that gentle approach. Confidence doesn't happen overnight, but small steps really do add up.
Absolutely. And learners should celebrate those small wins. Said hello to a stranger. That's progress. Ordered coffee in English. That's a win. Every tiny effort counts.
Couldn't agree more. What's one thing, Jacob, you think every learner should remember when they're feeling stuck or frustrated?
Just one thing? Okay. Fluency is not the absence of mistakes. It's the courage to keep speaking in spite of them.
That's powerful. I think a lot of our listeners needed to hear that.
I'm glad it resonated. Sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves to speak perfectly that we forget how amazing it is that we're learning a whole new language in the first place.
Yes, I mean, think about it. Being able to express your thoughts in a different language, connect with new people. understand songs or movies you couldn't before. It's such a gift.
It really is. And you don't need to be perfect to enjoy those things. You just need to be brave enough to try.
I love that. Jacob, let's talk about English learning resources for a moment. There are so many apps, websites, and YouTube channels out there. What do you recommend to people who feel overwhelmed by too many options?
Great question. I always say start with what you enjoy. If you love music, find English songs and look up the lyrics. If you like stories, watch short films or animated shows with subtitles. The goal is to make English a part of your daily life, not a chore.
That's so true. I also tell learners not to feel guilty about watching something easy. Kids' shows, for example, are fantastic for building vocabulary and sentence structure.
Exactly, and once that feels too easy, they can level up. Gradual progress is better than jumping into something too hard and getting discouraged.
Right. And sometimes people think they have to sit at a desk with a grammar book to learn. But you can learn while walking, cooking, or even relaxing.
Definitely. Podcasts like this one, language games, English audiobooks you can learn passively and still make big progress.
Okay, Jacob. Here's a fun one. What's the most unexpected thing that helped you learn a language?
Honestly, talking to myself in the mirror, I'd practice everyday phrases like, "Hi, how are you?" Or, "What should I eat today?" It helped me get used to the sound of my voice in another language.
That's awesome. I've done that too. And it's a great confidence booster before real conversations.
Absolutely. It's like rehearsal before the real show.
This episode is packed with golden advice, Jacob. I'm sure our listeners are taking notes. Want to keep going? Or should we wrap it up here?
Let's keep going. I feel like we've only scratched the surface, and there's so much more to explore about learning English in fun and practical ways.
Love the energy. All right, then let's talk about one of the biggest fears learners have, speaking in public or with native speakers. Jacob, have you faced that fear?
Oh, totally. I used to freeze up. I'd plan out everything I wanted to say in my head, but the moment I had to speak, I'd forget half of it or feel embarrassed about my accent.
That's so relatable. And I think many listeners feel the same way. What helped you overcome it?
Two things, actually. One was practicing with language exchange partners online. The other was reminding myself that communication is more important than sounding perfect. Native speakers aren't judging your grammar, they're just trying to understand you.
Yes, and in fact, most of them appreciate the effort. They know how hard it is to learn a second language.
Exactly. I've made lifelong friends just because I tried to speak, even if it wasn't perfect.
Let's dive into that. How can learners find language exchange partners?
There are so many platforms out there. Apps like Tandem or HelloTalk are popular. You can also join Facebook groups or Reddit threads where people want to practice English or other languages.
And a lot of these platforms are free, right?
Yep. Some offer paid features, but you can start completely free. And you can also set the pace texting first, then voice messages, and later video calls. It's not all at once.
That's great. Gradual steps make the journey less scary. What about journaling, Jacob? Do you think writing helps with speaking?
For sure. Writing your thoughts in English daily, even just a few sentences, helps your brain get used to sentence structure and vocabulary. Later, when you speak, you've already seen those words before.
Exactly. I used to journal with a little challenge like writing my day, using 5 new words I'd learned. It was fun and motivating.
That's a smart idea. And then you can read it out loud to yourself, which also helps with pronunciation.
Speaking of pronunciation, what's your favorite tip for improving it?
Shadowing, hands down. Listening to a native speaker and repeating what they say, mimicking their tone and rhythm, it works wonders.
I love shadowing. I used to do it with news anchors or podcasts. It really trains your ear.
And your mouth too. English has sounds that don't exist in every language, so repeating helps your mouth get used to new positions.
True. Let's go even deeper. Do you think mindset affects language learning?
Oh yes, 100%. If you believe you're bad at languages, you'll hold yourself back. But if you believe you can improve with time and effort, You'll keep going even when it's hard.
That's powerful. Mindset can be the difference between giving up and pushing forward.
And mistakes aren't failures, they're lessons. Every mistake is a step toward fluency.
Absolutely. All right, Jacob, this conversation is gold. Want to keep diving in, or should we save more for later?
Let's keep going. Sophia, this is exactly the kind of conversation learners need to hear: real talk, real tips, and real motivation.
You got it. Let's move on to something I know learners are curious about: thinking in English. How do you actually train your brain to stop translating and start thinking directly in English?
That's such a big one. For me, it started with small things like, instead of thinking, ami pani kabo, and translating that to, I will drink water, I'd force myself to just think, I will drink water, right from the start.
That's a smart approach. It's like creating a new habit, right?
Exactly. And I also labeled things around my room in English, like my mirror had a sticky note that said mirror. My table had one that said desk. That way, I'd start seeing and thinking about objects in English all day.
Ooh, that's a great tip. It's such a visual way to build vocabulary and shift your thinking.
It works, and narrating your day helps too. Like when I was cooking, I'd say in my head, I'm chopping onions. Now I'm adding salt. Just like that.
Yes, I recommend that a lot to learners. You're living your life anyway, why not turn it into practice time?
Right? And over time, it becomes natural. You don't have to force it so much. Your brain just switches automatically.
Okay, another common struggle: forgetting vocabulary. You learn a new word today, and tomorrow it's gone. What's the fix?
Use it or lose it, honestly. You need to use the new word at least 3 times in real sentences to make it stick.
Yes, that's my rule too. And spacing it out: once now, once later today, and once tomorrow makes it even stronger.
And if you can use it in a conversation or write a short story with it, that's even better.
Oh, speaking of stories, I once challenged myself to write a mini story using 5 random new words. It was silly, but it helped me remember them so well.
That's brilliant and fun too. Learning should be enjoyable, not stressful.
Absolutely. All right, Jacob, another big one: grammar anxiety. People often say, I want to speak, but my grammar isn't perfect.
Ugh, grammar fear is real. But here's the thing: grammar matters, but communication matters more. You can still be understood with small mistakes.
100%. And native speakers make grammar mistakes too, especially when speaking casually.
Exactly. The goal is fluency, not perfection. Fluency means flowing naturally, not speaking like a textbook.
Couldn't agree more. Let's break that perfection mindset and just encourage people to speak, even if it's not flawless.
Yes, every sentence you speak brings you closer to fluency.
All right, Jacob, we've covered a lot of ground: mindset, vocabulary, thinking in English, grammar fears, and I feel like we could keep going for hours.
Same here. What should we dive into next? Maybe reading strategies, or how to use English content like movies and YouTube effectively.
Both sound amazing, but first, do you want to keep going now, or should we save some for the next round?
Let's keep going then. Since we just mentioned content like movies and YouTube, maybe we should talk about how learners can use those to their advantage. What do you think, Sophia?
I love it. Watching content in English is such a fun way to improve your skills without it feeling like studying. But it works best when you do it the right way. So let's break it down.
All right, first thing I always suggest is using subtitles wisely. In the beginning, it's okay to watch with subtitles in your native language. But the goal is to move to English subtitles as soon as possible.
Yes, and then eventually try watching without subtitles once you're comfortable. It's a process, but it's powerful. You train your ear that way.
Right? And don't be afraid to pause and rewind. If there's a phrase or word you don't get, stop, listen again, and maybe even repeat it out loud.
That's so helpful. I also tell learners to keep a vocab notebook while watching. Not every word, but if a word or expression comes up a lot, write it down and try using it.
Definitely. And choose the right kind of content too. For beginners, cartoons or sitcoms like Friends are great. They use everyday English and clear pronunciation.
Oh yes, And YouTube has such a wide range. There are English learners channels, but also vloggers, gamers, tech reviewers, whatever topic you're into. There's English content for that.
Exactly, and watching content you enjoy makes the learning process feel natural. It's not a chore, it's fun.
Speaking of fun, what's one English show or channel that really helped you, Jacob?
Whom I'd say How I Met Your Mother. I learned a lot of idioms, humor, and even sarcasm from that show.
Haha, that's a good one. For me, it was watching YouTubers who do story times or Q&A videos. Their language is natural and unscripted, which makes it perfect listening practice.
That's a great point. Natural conversation is the goldmine. Learners need exposure to how people actually speak, not just textbook dialogues.
Absolutely. And one more thing, you don't have to understand everything. Even if you get 70%, that's a win.
Yes, progress over perfection, always.
I think our listeners are getting a full toolkit today. But Jacob, should we talk a bit about reading skills next? I know many learners struggle with reading speed and understanding.
Let's do it. That's such an important part of language learning too.
Great, so let's dive into reading skills. Now, reading in English can feel intimidating at first, especially if you're not used to longer texts or unfamiliar vocabulary.
Totally. I always say start small, don't jump straight into a novel. Try short articles, social media captions, or even English memes. They're short and fun and still helpful.
Yes, and consistency is key. Reading just 5 to 10 minutes a day can make a huge difference over time. Your brain starts getting used to sentence patterns, word combinations, and even grammar without you realizing it.
Another tip: you don't look up every single word. It breaks the flow. Try to guess the meaning from the context, and only look up words that really block your understanding.
That's such good advice. I also recommend graded readers. These are books written in simplified English, perfect for learners at different levels.
Oh yes, those are game changers. And if you're into tech, there are apps now that can turn any article into a level appropriate version. Pretty cool, right?
Super cool. Also, if you're a visual learner, reading comics or graphic novels in English can be a great way to absorb language. The pictures help give context to the words.
That's true. Plus, the dialogue in comics is more natural and conversational, similar to how people speak in real life.
I remember when I was helping a student. She used to read Harry Potter, with the English version on one side and the translated version on the other. She improved so fast.
That's a clever technique. Dual language reading helps with both understanding and vocabulary building.
What about news articles? Do you think they're good for learners?
For intermediate and advanced learners, absolutely. Especially if you're reading about topics you already know something about. That background knowledge makes it easier to follow.
And you can practice summarizing after reading. Just try to say in 1 or 2 sentences what the article was about. That builds comprehension and speaking at the same time.
That's a powerful combo. Read, then speak or write about it. Boom, 2 skills in one.
Love that. Oh, and if you really want to challenge yourself, try reading out loud. It boosts pronunciation and confidence.
Yep, you might feel silly at first, but it works wonders. Plus, it's just you and the book, no pressure.
So, to sum up, start small, be consistent, guess from context, and have fun with your reading. Whether it's comics, news, or novels, just keep going.
Exactly. The more you read, the easier it gets. And soon you'll find yourself thinking in English without even trying.
Should we explore writing practice next, Jacob? I think that would complete our focus on the 4 core skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing.
Yes, let's get into writing, one of the most feared but important parts of language learning.
All right, let's keep going. Writing is such a powerful way to not only practice English, but to truly understand how the language works.
Definitely. And the cool thing is you don't have to be a writer to get better at writing in English. Start small, just like we mentioned with reading.
Exactly. Things like journaling are perfect. Just write a few sentences about your day. For example, today I went to the market. I bought apples and bread. It was sunny, simple and real.
And doing that daily, even for 5 minutes, helps you build fluency over time. The key is not worrying about mistakes in the beginning.
Oh, yes, mistakes are a good thing in language learning. They show you're trying, and if you can, try using a grammar checker like Grammarly or even a basic spell checker to get instant feedback.
That's what I tell my students too. Or if you're chatting with a language partner, ask them to correct a sentence you write. It becomes a little lesson.
One fun way I practiced writing when I was younger was by replying to imaginary emails. Like pretending a friend wrote to me about a trip, and I'd reply in English. It helps you think creatively and use different kinds of vocabulary.
I love that idea. You can also describe pictures. Just find a photo online and write 3-5 sentences about what's happening in it. That helps with sentence structure and vocabulary expansion.
And social media captions. Writing a simple caption in English when you post something can become a mini writing practice. Plus, your friends might engage with you in English too.
Absolutely. And for those who love structure, there are lots of free prompts online like describe your dream home or write about your favorite memory. It removes the pressure of thinking what to write.
Another great method. Rewriting a paragraph from a book or article using your own words. That's called paraphrasing. And it's a great way to build vocabulary and understanding.
Yep, and it prepares you for academic writing too, which is useful if someone wants to take exams like IELTS or TOEFL.
Speaking of IELTS, maybe next time we can discuss writing strategies, specifically for exam preparation.
That's a great idea. There's a lot to say about task 1 and task 2, writing structure, vocabulary, time management.
Then it's a plan. But before we jump into that, maybe we should touch on some common mistakes learners make while writing.
Oh yes, like confusing verb tenses, misusing articles like, and the, or forgetting subject-verb agreement.
Yes, for example, she goes to school. Instead of, she goes to school. Very common, and very fixable with a bit of awareness.
And using too much like very big, very good. Instead, try words like huge or excellent. They're more expressive and make your writing sound better.
Another one is mixing up homophones like there, and there, and even native speakers mess those up sometimes.
True, I think making a personal list of your most common errors can really help. Then you can check for those every time you write.
That's brilliant. The goal is not perfection but progress. If you're improving even a little every week, you're on the right path.
100% agreed. Writing is one of the most powerful tools for thinking clearly and expressing yourself. The more you do it, the better you get.
All right, that's a wrap for today's episode. A big thank you to Jacob for sharing such amazing insights. To all our listeners, remember, writing in English is a journey. Don't rush it. Practice regularly, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're part of the process. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss our next one. Keep practicing, and we'll see you soon.